7 days prior to my son's marriage ceremony, I unintentionally listened to my relatives discussing their plan to enlist me as the caretaker for a gathering of approximately 15 children throughout the entire reception. Consequently, I altered my personal arrangements. On the very day of the nuptials, my son frantically telephoned me, demanding, "Where are you located?" I simply chuckled and instructed them not to expect my presence or the expansive culinary spread, the buffet I had guaranteed to prepare. My designation is Charlotte Fitzgerald. I am 72 years old, and it had never crossed my mind that at this stage of life I would be compelled to impart such an arduous lesson to my own family members. For countless months, I had been diligently preparing for the flawless wedding celebration of my son, Marcus. I had committed to managing the entire buffet service because my intention was to help them economize. I estimated the expenditure for all the necessary ingredients would hover around $3,000, yet I was determined to execute this task with heartfelt affection. Furthermore, I had volunteered to adorn the reception venue, fabricate the table centerpieces, and harmonize with the various suppliers. This was my personal present to the couple, a tangible expression of my deep devotion to my son and my immense happiness that he had once more discovered true love. Tiffany initially presented as the quintessential daughter-in-law when Marcus first introduced her to me 2 years ago. She consistently displayed exceptional courtesy. She addressed me as Monsieur Charlotte with appropriate deference. She would bring fresh flowers upon visiting my residence and offer her assistance within the kitchen. "Monsieur Charlotte," she would declare with that captivating grin, "allow me to assist with these dishes. Your culinary creations are exquisite. Marcus is truly fortunate to have been raised eating such meals." Marcus appeared genuinely joyous, and after enduring several years as a widow, witnessing his renewed romantic connection filled my spirit with delight. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and I was in my kitchen finalizing the purchasing checklist for the buffet when I detected voices emanating from the outside patio. My son, Marcus, was engaged in a phone call with a colleague, and Tiffany was conversing with her sibling, Audrey, who had travelled from outside of town for a visit. Initially, I paid no mind to their discussion. My attention was fixed on calculating the precise weight of meat necessary to serve 150 guests, the quantity of salads to be prepared, and the total number of desserts. But then my name reached my ears, and a particular inflection in Tiffany's voice made me pause my activities. I silently approached the kitchen window that overlooked the patio, remaining concealed behind the curtain fabric. "Observe, Audrey, I have meticulously organized everything for the children attending the wedding," Tiffany stated, using that sugary voice she routinely employed with me. "Marcus's mother is designated to supervise them for the duration of the entire festivities. There are roughly 15 children from our invitees, ranging from infants to adolescents, but she is completely accustomed to managing them. In this manner, we adults are free to savor the occasion without any irritating disturbances." Audrey let out a boisterous laugh and responded, "That is incredibly ingenious, sister. The elderly woman will be occupied with overseeing all those shrieking young ones, while you two dance, drink beverages, and amuse yourselves. Ideal. This guarantees they won't cause trouble during the marriage rite or destroy the reception photographs." "Precisely," Tiffany continued, her tone shifting to something different and notably colder. "I already informed Marcus that his mother possesses a natural affinity for children and enjoys caring for them. She won't even comprehend that we are utilizing her services. She is always prepared to help with any request. It's essentially like having a complimentary, skilled nanny for the entire evening. Furthermore, it will keep her suitably occupied so she won't intercede in any significant adult discussions." "And did she consent?" Audrey inquired. "We never explicitly requested it of her." Tiffany laughed. Marcus just happened to mention to her that a few children would be present at the ceremony, and she instantly volunteered her help, should we require anything. Naturally, we accepted. She is perfect for this role. She has abundant experience and will not charge us a single cent. I felt as though a stinging blow had been delivered directly to my face. There I stood inside my kitchen, my hands dusted with flour from baking cookies for their wedding, dedicating my own capital, my personal time, and my vitality to ensure their day was impeccable, while they simultaneously plotted to exploit me as an unpaid domestic worker without even seeking my permission. The most favorable aspect, Tiffany went on, entirely oblivious that I was hearing every syllable, is that since the old lady will be scrambling after the children all night, she won't be able to consume much of the buffet she is preparing, leaving more food for the important guests. They both shared a laugh, as if they had uttered the most hilarious jest imaginable. My heart was thumping so vigorously I genuinely feared they might detect the sound. 72 years of existence, rearing my son, spending time with my grandchildren, consistently prioritizing my family above all else, and this was the recompense they offered me. As if my existence was merely that of a 24-hour available retainer. I remained still behind the curtain, sensing the fury ascend from my feet all the way to my head. Yet it was not exclusively rage. It comprised a combination of deep hurt, profound disappointment, and a sheer disgrace so overwhelming that it physically ached in my chest. For 2 full years I had embraced Tiffany as the daughter I was never blessed with. I had welcomed her into my dwelling with open arms, involved her in every one of our family customs, and shared the confidential recipes that had been inherited through generations of my lineage. Do you know what else I appreciate about this scheme? Tiffany persisted, completely unaware she was under surveillance. Since the old lady will be sprinting after the kids all night, she won't be able to insert herself into our grown-up dialogues. You are familiar with how mothers-in-law are, perpetually keen to offer their judgment on every subject and recount tedious stories about Marcus's childhood. Audrey erupted in a fit of laughter. Oh my heavens, absolutely. My mother-in-law acts identically, forever interrupting with her 50-year-old recollections that nobody cares about. At least your relative will be useful for one instance. Precisely. And the absolute finest part is that Marcus genuinely believes his mother is volunteering out of sheer affection. He doesn't grasp that we meticulously orchestrated this from the beginning. Men are so gullible, Tiffany concluded with a malicious snicker. I detected Marcus's footsteps, approaching after he concluded his telephone conversation. What are my lovely ladies finding so amusing? He inquired with the loving voice he always reserved for Tiffany. I was just informing Audrey how exceptionally well organized I am, Tiffany responded, instantly reverting to her saccharine tone. I have everything meticulously arranged so that the guests' children will not be a source of annoyance at the wedding. My mother is truly an angel, Marcus stated proudly, always eager to assist the family. It's astonishing that she retains the vitality to pursue children at her age. Indeed, it is quite advantageous to possess a mother-in-law of that nature, Tiffany muttered, though Marcus failed to register the mockery inherent in her voice. I retreated from the window feeling profoundly unwell. I could not digest the content of the dialogue I had just witnessed. This woman, who had portrayed the role of the flawless daughter-in-law for 2 years, who had succeeded in making me feel cherished and honored, who had even referred to me as Mom on noteworthy occasions, truly perceived me as a complimentary staff member and a mere inconvenience. I ascended to my private chamber, my legs trembling uncontrollably. I settled down on the edge of my bed, the very same one where I had rested beside my spouse, for 30 years before his passing due to cancer. I gazed at the framed family photographs resting on my bedside table. Marcus graduating from university, his first communion rite, our seaside vacations from when he was a young boy. I had committed my entire existence to being the most exceptional mother I could possibly be. And now, just when I believed I was gaining a daughter, I discovered I was nothing more than a convenient instrument. Over the subsequent few days, I conducted myself as if nothing untoward had happened. When Marcus telephoned to inquire regarding the wedding arrangements, I replied with my usual composure. Yes, son, everything is proceeding perfectly. The buffet is certain to be scrumptious. When Tiffany paid a visit and remarked, Miss Charlotte, please don't overly exert yourself concerning the wedding. Make an effort to relax and enjoy the occasion. I offered a smile and nodded assent. Certainly, darling, I am so anticipating it. But internally, a precise strategy was starting to form. If they were inclined to engage in deceptive tactics, I was equally capable of participating. After all, I had existed for 72 years. I had independently raised a child after becoming a widow. I had successfully managed a family enterprise and endured challenges they could not even begin to imagine. I was not about to permit them to treat me like a domestic helper right under my very nose. On Wednesday morning, precisely 3 days following the moment I had overheard that conversation, I contacted my dearest friend, Loretta. We had known each other for over 40 years and had consistently been each other's trusted confidants. Lo, I need to share something with you, and then I require your assistance with a detailed plan, I stated without any preliminary remarks. Oh, Charlotte, judging by the sound of your voice, I already know someone has infuriated you. Recount the entire story to me, Loretta replied, thoroughly intrigued. I narrated the complete account from its origin, the conversation I had eavesdropped on, the emotions it elicited in me, and the deceitful behavior Tiffany had displayed towards me for 2 years. Loretta listened without interruption, and when I concluded, she inhaled deeply. Charlotte, that female is a viper. How dare she speak of you in that manner after all the effort you've expended for them? You've spent a fortune on that wedding. You've devoted months to its coordination, and this is their method of repayment. I know, Lo, but here comes the enjoyable part. I have devised a plan, and I need your involvement. Name the task. You are aware you can rely on me for absolutely anything. I meticulously detailed my concept, step by step. Loretta became so elated, she began applauding on the opposite end of the phone connection. Charlotte, you are an absolute genius. That spoiled young woman is in for the shock of her lifetime. Consider me committed. I fully support your endeavor. On Thursday, I commenced the execution of the initial phase of my strategy. I placed calls to every caterer I had contracted for the buffet. Good morning, this is Charlotte Fitzgerald. I must cancel all outstanding orders for Saturday's wedding. Yes, I understand it is very last minute, but a crucial family emergency has arisen. Several companies attempted to impose a cancellation penalty, but I managed to revoke every order by incurring only negligible fees. Next, I telephoned the florist, from whom I had commissioned the supplementary arrangements I intended to bestow upon them. Excuse me, I need to cancel the table centerpieces for Saturday. No, I do not require them for an alternate date. I simply will no longer have a need for them. On Friday night, the evening directly preceding the wedding, I packed a small piece of luggage. I placed inside attire for 2 days, my essential medications, my most cherished book, and a selection of personal items. Marcus had called earlier to confirm that every element was prepared. Mum, how are the final preparations coming along? Do you require me to stop by and offer assistance with anything? No, son. Everything is perfect. Tomorrow is destined to be a magnificent day, I responded with total equanimity. Mom, you are truly the best. Tiffany and I cannot express our gratitude sufficiently for everything you have accomplished for our wedding. You owe me no gratitude for anything, Marcus. Tomorrow everything will unfold precisely as you both envisioned. That evening I barely achieved any slumber, yet it was not due to anxiety. It was fueled by the anticipation of knowing I was finally on the verge of reclaiming my self-respect. On Saturday morning, the day of the marriage, I arose earlier than I ever had. It was 5 o'clock in the morning, and my eyes were wide open with a surge of vitality I hadn't sensed in years. I showered, styled my hair, and dressed myself in my preferred gown, the coral-hued one I adored so deeply and which made me feel sophisticated. It was not the garment I had initially planned to wear to the ceremony, but a unique piece I reserved for significant events, and this certainly qualified as a momentous day. Loretta arrived at 7 o'clock on the dot, exactly as we had prearranged. She carried 2 pieces of baggage and a secretive smile that infused me with bravery. "Are you prepared for your Liberation Day, Charlotte?" she asked, embracing me tightly. "More than prepared, Lo. I have been awaiting this instant for 2 years without even realizing it." We had reserved accommodations at an exclusive spa situated 2 hours outside the metropolitan area, a gorgeous location boasting a lake view where we could completely de-stress. The itinerary encompassed soothing massages, revitalizing facials, refined gourmet cuisine, and a private room furnished with a whirlpool bath. All the funds I had accumulated for the wedding buffet, I was now poised to expend solely on myself for the first occasion in several decades. Before departing my home, I composed a brief communication that I positioned on the kitchen table, precisely where Marcus habitually sat during his visits. "Dearest Marcus, by the moment you read this correspondence, I will be indulging in a well-merited repose. For multiple months, I prepared every detail to guarantee your wedding would be flawless. However, yesterday I discovered that Tiffany and you maintained alternative arrangements for me. Evidently, my assigned function on your momentous day was to function as the unpaid caretaker for 15 children throughout the entire celebration, without anyone bothering to inquire if I desired that specific role. Since the promised buffet also formed part of my unconsulted obligations, I have elected to rescind everything. I trust you will find a prompt resolution. I shall return Sunday evening. With devotion, but with dignity, Mother." As Loretta placed the luggage into the automobile, I took a final visual sweep of my residence. I observed the kitchen where I had intended to labor all night preparing the banquet, the dining area where I had been organizing the ornamental centerpieces, the lounge where I had experimented with various floral arrangements. All those efforts had been motivated by love, but that genuine affection had been misinterpreted as mere servitude. "Charlotte, are you absolutely certain about this course of action?" Loretta questioned me once I was settled in the car. "Because once we commence, there is no possibility of turning back. Lo, I am 72 years old. If I fail to advocate for myself now, when will I?" "Start the car." The journey to the spa felt profoundly liberating. As we watched the landscape stream past the window, Loretta and I reminisced about all the shared experiences of our 40-year friendship. "Do you recall when our children were small, and we believed the greatest difficulties involved them refusing to consume their vegetables?" Loretta laughed heartily. "I genuinely miss those uncomplicated dilemmas," I replied. "At least back then, when you performed an action driven by love, it was acknowledged as love, not as an expectation of duty." We arrived at the luxurious spa at 10 o'clock in the morning. The location was even more magnificent than the depictions I had viewed in the internet photos. Flawlessly maintained grounds, a breathtaking vista of the adjacent lake, and an atmosphere of tranquility that instantly calmed my spirit. The concierge welcomed us with 2 mimosas. "Welcome, ladies. Your accommodations are prepared, and your scheduled treatments will commence in 1 hour. Is this a special occasion for you?" "Yes," I answered with a genuine, heartfelt smile. "I am commemorating my autonomy." As I settled into my magnificent room with a view overlooking the lake, I began to envision the events unfolding back in the city. The wedding was scheduled to start at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but preparations for the catering typically began exceptionally early. Marcus would likely have been calling me starting from 9 o'clock in the morning to inquire if I needed assistance loading the food supplies. At exactly 11:30, just as I was entering the treatment room for my first massage, my phone began to chime. It was Marcus. I consciously allowed it to continue ringing. 5 minutes later, it sounded again and then repeatedly. I deactivated the device. "Miss Charlotte, is everything satisfactory?" The masseuse gently inquired, noticing my serene expression. "Completely fine, dear one. Please proceed." For the following 3 hours, I devoted myself entirely to pure self-indulgence. The warmth of the hot stone massage dissolved tension in muscles I hadn't even realized were constricted. The facial left my skin with a discernible luminosity. Loretta and I shared a delightful lunch at the spa's own restaurant. Exquisite food that I was not obligated to prepare myself, served by staff who treated me with courtesy and consideration. "Do you know what element of this entire experience I appreciate the most?" I inquired of Loretta as we sipped white wine on the patio overlooking the vast lake. "What is it?" "That for the initial time in 2 years, I am executing precisely what I desire, exactly when I choose to do it, without needing to seek authorization from anyone or determine if they require me to fulfill some other task first." Loretta lifted her beverage. "I will toast to that sentiment, and also to the expression on Tiffany's face right now." At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I decided to reactivate my mobile phone. I had missed 17 incoming calls from Marcus, received 8 text messages, and rather surprisingly, 3 calls originating from Tiffany. Marcus had never telephoned me that many times consecutively in his entire life, not even during the time his father was hospitalized. The electronic messages were growing increasingly frantic. "Mother, where are you? We've been trying to reach you all morning." "Mother, I have discovered your letter. Please contact me immediately." "Mother, the ceremony commences in 1 hour. Kindly respond." "Mother, where is the food? The guests are already arriving." "Mother, please, can we discuss this after the wedding? We need to resolve the buffet crisis right now." "Mother, Tiffany is weeping uncontrollably. Please lend us your assistance." The final message had arrived just 15 minutes prior. "Mother, I understand you are upset, but there are 15 children here and we have no idea what to do with them. Their parents are demanding to know who will be supervising them." I inhaled deeply and initiated a call to Marcus's telephone number. He answered immediately upon the first ring. "Mother, where are you?" he shouted with a desperation I had never before witnessed from him. "Hello, son. I am currently at a magnificent spa alongside Loretta, enjoying a delicious chocolate massage. How is your wedding progressing?" "Mother, this cannot possibly be occurring. The invitees have already arrived and there is absolutely no food. The caterers are asking about the location of the buffet. Tiffany refuses to stop crying." "Oh, son, did you neglect to read my note? I thoroughly explained everything within it. I cancelled the catering arrangements once I learned that my true designation was a caretaker, not an invited attendee." "But mother, the wedding has already commenced. We cannot possibly cancel now." "Marcus, you are a 45-year-old man with a respectable career and a fiancé who is apparently extremely competent at organizing. I am certain you will devise a solution. Is there a fast food establishment located nearby?" "Mother, you cannot be serious right now." "Son, I have never been more earnest in my entire existence. Savor your wedding day. We are going to continue enjoying our spa retreat. Oh, and do not anticipate my return early tomorrow. We are planning to have breakfast here as well." "Wait, Mother, Tiffany wishes to speak with you." I heard indistinct noises, muffled sobbing in the background, and voices laced with panic. Then Tiffany's voice emerged, devoid of her customary sugary inflection. Charlotte, you are absolutely forbidden to do this to us. You promised the extensive food spread. There are 150 individuals here. Tiffany, my dear, I replied in the most composed tone I could summon. I pledged the buffet when I was under the impression I was a distinguished guest at your marriage ceremony. But upon discovering I was actually the unremunerated domestic employee, I altered my decision. As the old saying dictates, labor warrants compensation. And I never requested payment for my services. But the children, there are 15 children present and their parents are expecting someone to supervise them. Yes, I can imagine that presents a significant difficulty. Do you not possess a sister who is available to assist you? What was her name again? Audrey. I heard she believes I am quite proficient with children. The ensuing silence on the other end of the line was wonderfully satisfying. It endured for several seconds that felt like an eon. I could distinctly hear the pervasive pandemonium in the background. Children wailing, adults speaking in raised voices, and what sounded like someone frantically moving large tables and seating. How do you know about Audrey? Tiffany stammered, and for the first time in 2 years, her voice sounded genuinely shattered, completely lacking the artificial self-assurance she perpetually displayed. Oh, darling, one acquires a great deal of knowledge when they reach 72 years old. One particular fact is that inanimate walls possess auditory perception, particularly when individuals speak at such high volume on my outdoor patio. Charlotte, please, can we postpone this discussion? Currently, I absolutely require you to... Tiffany, you don't require anything from me. Based on what I overheard, what you genuinely require is a professional caregiver. I suggest you consult the local telephone directory. I believe they charge approximately $10 per hour per child. Let's calculate. 15 children multiplied by 6 hours of supervision equals $900. Quite inexpensive when compared to the $3,000 I was prepared to spend on your buffet. I heard Tiffany shrieking at someone in the distance. Marcus, your mother has gone completely mad. She claims she is aware of everything we discussed. Then Marcus's voice returned, but now it carried a different, deeper quality, reminiscent of when he was a young boy who knew he was guilty of wrongdoing. Mother, did you hear us while we were speaking on the patio? I certainly heard numerous fascinating things, son. For example, that I am merely an elderly woman, useful for keeping busy so as not to interrupt significant grown-up conversations. I also heard that I am apparently so habituated to watching minors that I wouldn't even recognize you were exploiting me. And my personal favorite, that I am analogous to having a complimentary, skilled nanny for the entire duration of the evening. The silence this time was even more protracted. Loretta, who had been overhearing the whole exchange from her seat on the terrace, offered me an encouraging gesture. Mother, Marcus began, his voice sounding like a reprimanded youngster. Marcus, you are 45 years old. You are a successful, capable man. Did it genuinely never occur to you to simply inquire if I wished to spend your entire wedding celebration chasing after 15 children instead of enjoying the nuptials of my only son? We thought you derived pleasure from watching children. I enjoy supervising my grandchildren occasionally, Marcus. I do not enjoy being the officially designated wedding caretaker without any prior consultation. And I unequivocally dislike hearing that my daughter-in-law considers me an irritating distraction who needs to be kept occupied so I won't interfere. Tiffany didn't articulate that specific phrase. Marcus, I am 72. I do not suffer from Alzheimer's disease. I distinctly heard every single word. I heard when your spouse informed her sister how clever she was for securing an uncharged nanny. I heard when they laughed about how I wouldn't be able to consume much of the food I prepared because I would be too busy. I heard when Audrey remarked that at least her mother-in-law would be beneficial for once. This renewed silence was interrupted by a child's shriek in the background and the voice of a woman exclaiming, "Where is the lady who was supposed to be watching the children? My son has escaped and is running throughout the garden." "There is your inevitable outcome, son. The spectacle has commenced." "Mother, please come immediately. We will compensate you. We will offer you $500 to watch the children." I laughed so powerfully that Loretta was momentarily startled. $500, Marcus? Just 5 minutes ago, this was a family obligation I was expected to perform out of loving service. And now that you've comprehended I'm not as foolish as you presumed, you propose to pay me $500 to soil my coral-colored dress, chasing after minors I do not even know? Charlotte, there is not an adequate sum of money in the world that would persuade me to attend that wedding now. However, I will offer you some complimentary counsel. The next time you contemplate exploiting someone as an employee, ask them beforehand. It is simply decent manners. $2,000? Marcus yelled, his voice now conveying complete panic. Marcus, my son, pay close attention to my words. If you possessed $2,000 to pay me to function as a caretaker, you also had the financial means to employ a professional caterer instead of compelling me to expend my retirement savings on your wedding buffet. But it appears it was more convenient for your mother to finance everything and also labor without charge, was it not? Loretta discreetly refilled my wineglass and whispered, "You are magnificent, my dear companion." "Mother," Marcus's voice was now trembling, "please do not inflict this upon me. It is my wedding celebration." "Marcus, I am inflicting nothing upon you. You inflicted this upon me. You and your fiancé decided I was your private employee without soliciting my input. I am simply deciding that I decline that specific employment offer." "But we are unable to secure a caterer at this late hour. The guests are going to experience hunger." "You know what, son? That deficiency is defined as poor foresight. When coordinating a marriage event, you are expected to guarantee the presence of both provisions and a childcare provider. You simply assumed you had obtained both without cost, but you were mistaken. Charlotte, you must return to the venue this instant, or we will never extend our forgiveness to you." Tiffany screamed. Her genuine personality was now completely exposed. "There it is," I stated to Loretta, momentarily covering the phone's microphone. "That is the authentic Tiffany." I uncovered the phone and responded in the calmest tone in the entire world. "Tiffany, my dear, there is nothing that requires forgiveness. You schemed to utilize me. I made the choice not to permit myself to be utilized. It is genuinely that straightforward. And frankly, having heard the actual inflection of your voice, I am exceptionally pleased I am not present." "You are a selfish elderly woman. You utterly destroyed my wedding," Tiffany shrieked. "No, darling, you destroyed your own wedding when you determined that financial savings were more crucial than showing respect to your future mother-in-law. I merely opted not to be an accessory to my own degradation." Marcus retrieved the device. "Mother, the children are running wild everywhere. One managed to enter the kitchen and toppled the entire wedding cake. Another is hiding beneath the main head table. The parents are furious." "Marcus, and where is that clever Audrey? Can she not assist her sister with the children?" "Audrey insists she was unaware she was expected to supervise children. She thought that was your obligation." How incredibly convenient. The identical Audrey who was laughing that the elderly woman was going to oversee all the screaming little brats now claims she is unable to assist. "Marcus, please." "Marcus, I am terminating this call now because my chocolate massage awaits my return. But before I do, permit me to convey something to you." I sincerely hope this experience serves to teach you that your mother is not your own personal employee. I am a 72-year-old woman who warrants deference, not a servant you can employ whenever it suits your purposes. Wait, mother. What? Are you truly not coming back? I am genuinely not returning. Enjoy your wedding ceremony. We are going to enjoy our spa retreat. And as for tomorrow we shall see. First, I want you to seriously contemplate the events that transpired here, and I want your wife to reflect deeply on the true meaning of belonging to a family. But mother, Marcus, I must conclude this call. My masseuse is expecting me. And unlike you both, she is treating me with respect because I am paying her appropriately for her professional services. I ended the call and switched my device to silent mode. Loretta was applauding enthusiastically. Charlotte, that was utterly masterful. How do you feel right now? I feel liberated, Lo. For the first time in 2 years, I feel completely unbound. After concluding the conversation, I settled onto the spa terrace, observing the serene lake and experiencing a profound tranquility I had not known in a considerable time. Loretta observed me with a blend of admiration and apprehension. Charlotte, are you absolutely sure you made the correct choice? She inquired, taking a modest sip of her wine. I mean, I know you were entirely justified, but Marcus is your sole son. Lo, precisely because he is my only son, I am obligated to teach him this essential lesson. If I fail to do it now, Tiffany will succeed in transforming him into a man who treats his own mother like an unpaid domestic worker, and I will not countenance that outcome. For the subsequent 2 hours, my mobile phone vibrated incessantly, but I maintained the silent setting. Loretta and I fully indulged in our spa treatments as if the world outside were not in chaos. The collagen facial left my skin feeling as smooth as a newborn's, and the fragrant oil massage relaxed muscles that had been rigid for years from the strain of endeavoring to be the perfect matriarch. Do you know what element of this entire situation is the most amusing? I asked Loretta while we were relaxing in the whirlpool bath watching the sunset. What is that? That for 2 years I dedicated such immense effort to be the quintessential mother-in-law that I completely relinquished my own self-identity. I cooked the dishes she preferred. I decorated the house in the manner she deemed attractive. I even modified my style of clothing to conform to her conception of the ideal grandmother. I always found that behavior strange, Loretta confessed. You, who were always so fiercely independent, suddenly seemed to be requesting authorization for every small detail. You were absolutely correct, and the most regrettable part is that the harder I strove to placate her, the less respect she afforded me. For her, my readiness to assist was a fundamental flaw, not an act of genuine affection. At 8 o'clock in the evening, I decided to examine my telephone. I had accumulated 43 missed calls, 26 text messages, and surprisingly, several messages originating from unfamiliar numbers. Apparently, some of my relatives had obtained my contact information to attempt to persuade me to return to the wedding. The messages were becoming increasingly frantic and revealing. Marcus. Mother, we were forced to order pizzas for all the attendees. We spent $1,200 on pizza alone. Marcus. Mother, the parents of 3 children have already departed in anger because no one was able to supervise their kids. Marcus. Tiffany is currently in the restroom weeping. She states you destroyed the most crucial day of her existence. Marcus. Mother. The photographer is asking if he can capture family portraits. I informed him that Grandma couldn't attend. An unknown number. Miss Charlotte, I am Michael, Tiffany's father. Please, Miss Charlotte, come to our aid. My daughter is absolutely devastated. Another unknown number. Charlotte, I am Audrey. I know you overheard our private conversation. Please accept our apologies. It was intended merely as a joke. I chuckled while reading Audrey's message. A mere joke? Lo, planning to exploit someone as an unpaid worker is a very costly form of humour. However, the message that captured my attention the most originated from a number I did not recognise. Miss Charlotte, I am Carol, the mother of one of the children attending your son's wedding. I wanted to inform you that several other parents and I are extremely distressed because we were told someone was overseeing the children, and it turns out no one is. Some of us have already left. What they did to you is simply wrong. Look at this, Lo, I said, showing the message to Loretta. Evidently, I am not the only person who believes their actions were improper. Of course not. Any rational individual would recognize that treating the groom's mother in that manner is unacceptable. At 9 o'clock in the evening, while we were dining in the spa's elegant restaurant, my phone rang once more. This time it was a recognizable number. My sister-in-law, Eleanor, the sister of my deceased spouse. Charlotte, what exactly is happening? Marcus called me in tears, claiming you failed to attend his wedding. Eleanor had always been direct and candid with me. I recounted the entire narrative to her from the beginning, including the conversation I had eavesdropped on and the subsequent emotional impact. Charlotte, you acted entirely correctly, she declared without the slightest hesitation. If my brother were alive today, he would have sought out Marcus himself to teach him a lesson. No person treats his mother in that fashion, particularly after everything you have sacrificed for that family. Do you truly believe I made the right decision, Eleanor? Charlotte, I have known Marcus since the day he was born. He is fundamentally a good young man, but that woman has him thoroughly manipulated. It was high time someone forced him to see reality. And if that someone had to be you, his own mother, then so be it. Eleanor informed me that other relatives had already become aware of the situation, because Marcus had been telephoning everyone, pleading for assistance. The majority of people are on your side, Charlotte. Your cousin Rosa mentions that Tiffany always struck her as insincere, and your nephew Charles is furious with Marcus for treating you that way. After speaking with Eleanor, I felt an enhanced sense of justification in my resolution. I was not behaving as a cruel mother. I was acting as a mother who respects herself, and in doing so, teaches her son to reciprocate that respect. At 10 o'clock in the evening, Loretta and I retired to our respective accommodations. I had a beautiful suite featuring a private balcony overlooking the lake. I slipped into my most comfortable sleeping attire, poured myself a glass of wine from the bottle in the compact refrigerator, and sat on the balcony to observe the celestial bodies. I felt profoundly at peace with my choice. For 30 years of my marriage, and then for years as a single mother, I had always shaped my decisions around the requirements of my family, never considering what I genuinely desired or whether I had satisfied someone else's expectations. I was no longer contemplating what meal I could prepare for Marcus the following day, what favour I could execute for Tiffany, or how I could strive to be a superior mother-in-law. My thoughts were focused on myself, on Charlotte, on the 72-year-old woman who had successfully raised a commendable son, who had maintained a blissful marriage for 30 years, who had endured widowhood with grace, and who deserved to be treated with dignity by her own family. That night, I achieved a quality of sleep far superior to any I had experienced in months. On Sunday morning, I awoke with a peculiar sensation. I felt completely rested and serene. It had been an extended period since I had awakened without the persistent unease of pondering what I needed to accomplish to keep everyone contented. Loretta and I had arranged to convene for breakfast at 9 o'clock, but I was already wide awake at 7, relishing the profound quiet and the vista of the lake from my window. After an hour and a half, my phone rang. It was Marcos. I answered, expecting a renewed plea. Mother, I'm at your house. I want to speak with you. Son, I won't be back until late tonight, as I stated in my note. I know, Mother, I simply couldn't wait. I drove to the spa as soon as I could. Marcus, I am 2 hours outside the city. How did you locate the spa? I searched through your computer history. I had to know where you were. I was momentarily speechless. Well, that certainly qualifies as desperate, I suppose. Mother, please, I have to see you. I sighed. I knew he wouldn't desist. Give me 15 minutes. I'll meet you in the hotel's main lobby. When I descended, I observed him waiting for me. He looked utterly exhausted, as if he hadn't slept for days. Hello, Mum, he uttered softly. Hello, Marcus. Let's find a quiet spot. We settled in a secluded area of the lobby. The quiet extended for several minutes until Marcus finally began speaking. Mother, I must offer my sincere apologies. I am listening intently. Tiffany and I discussed the situation all night following the wedding. Initially, she was absolutely enraged with you, but when I repeated to her precisely what you had overheard, she recognized how terrible everything she had spoken sounded. And did you recognize it as well? Marcus lowered his head even further. Yes, Mother. I recognize that for 2 years I have been treating you like you were my paid staff instead of my parent. And what are your feelings about that realization? I feel dreadful. I feel profound shame. Dad must be distraught in his resting place because of how I have treated the woman he loved for 30 years. That reference to his late father touched me deeply, but I maintained my self-control. Marcus, I need you to grasp an important truth. This is not solely about the unfortunate incident with the wedding. It is about 2 years of assuming I was constantly available for every request without ever pausing to ask me if I genuinely wished to do it. I am aware, Mother, and you are entirely right. Whenever Tiffany suggested we ask for your assistance with something, I never stopped to consider if it was just or equitable to you. I simply reasoned, Mum invariably agrees, so there's no difficulty. And Tiffany, how does she truly feel now? Marcus sighed deeply. She is profoundly ashamed. She confessed that she didn't realize how much the words old lady and free nanny sounded until I was absent from the wedding. Marcus, I need to pose a very direct query to you, and I require an honest answer. Ask me, Mother. Does Tiffany hold respect for me as an individual, or does she view me merely as a useful commodity who is accessible whenever she requires me? Marcus remained silent for a significant period. Mother, I believe that until yesterday, the two concepts had become intertwined, but after witnessing the devastating consequences of treating you solely as a commodity, she has grasped that she had completely lost sight of the human being. And you, do you perceive me as your mother or as your private employee? Mother, that inquiry is painful, but I comprehend why you ask it, and the truthful response is that for these 2 years unconsciously, I began to perceive you more as a problem solver than as my mother, who deserved to be consulted and shown respect. I seated myself once more and looked directly into his eyes. Marcus, I appreciate your candor, but I need you to understand that circumstances are going to change fundamentally from this point onward. I understand perfectly, Mother. What specific requirements do you have from us? I require that the next time you desire to request a favor from me, you ask me if I am capable and if I desire to perform it, not just assume that I will agree. I need you to treat me as an honored guest at your family gatherings, not as an extension of the hired staff. And I need Tiffany to fully understand that I am the parent of her husband, not her employee. All of that is absolutely reasonable, Mother, and you should never have been subjected to less than that. For what it is worth, I promise you I will never again permit your wife to disrespect you. Marcus nodded assertively. You are correct, Mother. I should have defended you from the outset. We remained quiet for a few minutes. I could perceive that Marcus was thoroughly processing every point we had discussed. Mother, do you grant me your forgiveness? Marcus, you are my son, and my love for you is eternal. But forgiveness is a quality that is established through sustained actions, not solely through verbal declarations. I need to observe genuine modifications in how you treat me before I can assert that everything is entirely forgiven. That is a fair expectation. And Tiffany, will you afford her an opportunity to offer her apologies? If she genuinely desires to apologize, not because you prompted her, but because she is sincerely remorseful for the way she treated me, then yes, I will receive her. She does wish to, Mother, but she is apprehensive that you will reject her. Marcus, I do not reject people who apologize truthfully, but I also refuse to accept contrived apologies offered merely to maintain harmony. I understand. When would be a suitable time for her to come? Allow her a few days to thoroughly consider what she intends to say. And Marcus, ensure she understands that I do not anticipate her to feign we are inseparable friends immediately. I simply expect fundamental respect. Marcus remained at my residence for a short while longer, and for the first time in a considerable period, we engaged in a meaningful discussion between a mother and her son, not between a supervisor and an employee. He spoke to me about his experience during the wedding, watching the guests' confusion over the absence of a prepared meal and the children running freely without supervision everywhere. I observed a genuine sense of accountability in his demeanor. He was no longer trying to rationalize his conduct, but was confronting the direct repercussions of his own decisions. The true test, however, would be to determine if these behavioral changes persisted beyond the immediate crisis. The subsequent 3 days were notably calm. I received no telephone calls soliciting favors, no messages presuming my availability for any task. It was an unfamiliar yet liberating sensation. For the first time in 2 years, my daily schedule was completely my own. On Wednesday afternoon, Marcus telephoned me. Mother Tiffany wishes to visit and converse with you tomorrow afternoon, provided you are amenable. Is she certain this is what she desires, or does she feel coerced? She is certain, Mother. She has been exceptionally subdued these past few days, thoroughly contemplating all the events that occurred. Very well, inform her to arrive tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Thank you, Mother. Your granting her this opportunity means a great deal to both of us. Marcus, I am not doing this for your sake. I am doing it for my own sake because I need to ascertain if this situation can be remedied or if I must accept that my daughter-in-law and I will never establish an amicable relationship. On Thursday at 4 on the dot, the front doorbell chimed. When I opened the entrance, I was astonished by Tiffany's appearance. She looked entirely different from her usual presentation. She wore no makeup. Her hair was gathered in a simple, unadorned ponytail, and she was dressed casually in trousers and a plain top. But the most striking change was her expression. The flawless, perpetual smile was gone. She appeared vulnerable, almost fragile. "Hello, Miss Charlotte," she murmured. We sat in the living room. She was the first to break the silence. "I am here because I need to apologize sincerely for my abhorrent behavior." "I am listening, Tiffany. I am 33 years old and I have never had a mother-in-law before. My own mother passed away when I was 15 years old, and my father subsequently remarried a woman who never cared for me. When I met Marcus and subsequently met you, I was unsure how to handle having a mother figure in my life. Once more. And your chosen solution was to treat me like an employee? It wasn't a deliberate decision, Miss Charlotte. Initially, you greatly intimidated me. You are so self-assured, so proficient at every task you undertake, so beloved by the entire family. I felt like I would never measure up to your standard. Tiffany, that explanation does not justify why you spoke about me in that contemptuous manner to your sister." Tiffany remained silent for a lengthy moment, and when she finally spoke again, her voice was barely a whisper. because when one feels insecure, one sometimes attempts to enhance their own sense of self-worth by making others seem less significant. I know it sounds repulsive, but it is the unvarnished truth. At least you are being honest now. Miss Charlotte, when you failed to appear at the wedding and I perused your letter, I had a terrible realization. I recognized that I had been striving to convert Marcus into a man who prioritized my own ease over the welfare of his own mother, and that is fundamentally unethical. And how do you perceive that now? Now I feel deep humiliation, I feel guilt, and I feel sorrow because I squandered the chance to forge a genuine relationship with the woman who raised the man I adore. Tears began to stream down her cheeks, and for the first time since I had encountered her, they seemed genuine, not a calculated display. I handed her a tissue. I believe you, Tiffany. I truly believe that you are regretful for the consequences of your actions, but that does not automatically earn my trust. Trust is a privilege that must be earned, particularly when you have demonstrated such disrespect. I understand, Miss Charlotte. All I desire is mutual respect and an opportunity to commence anew. And are you truly willing to alter your behavior towards me? Yes. I will cease to presume that you are constantly available to offer us assistance. I will inquire with you before arranging any event that involves your participation, and I will endeavor to include you as a genuine family member, not as hired service personnel. And what will happen if I decline a request you make of me? Then I will honor your decision without attempting to instill guilt in you. We were silent for a few minutes. I could tell that Tiffany was anxiously awaiting my definitive response, but I needed time to process the entirety of her confession. Tiffany, I am going to be frank with you. I do not place my trust in you yet. You will be obliged to demonstrate through concrete actions that these modifications are real, not merely empty words intended to evade consequence. I understand completely. What do you require me to do specifically? I require time. I need to observe how you treat me in the subsequent months when you are not under any duress. Are you prepared to grant me that single chance? Yes, Tiffany. I will afford you one chance, but it will be the only one. If you treat me with disrespect or perceive me as an employee again, there will be no second opportunity. I fully comprehend. And Miss Charlotte, is there anything particular I can initiate immediately to begin re-establishing your confidence? I contemplated her question for a few moments. Yes, there is. Marcus mentioned that you had to purchase pizzas for 150 guests at a cost of $1,200. I want you to give me that amount of money to compensate for the cost of the ingredients for the buffet I purchased and subsequently had to cancel. I'm not requesting the $3,000 I had planned to spend, only the $1,200 you spent on the pizzas. It is a symbolic act. I want to know that you are capable of offering financial restitution and taking responsibility for your actions. I will transfer the money to you immediately. I am truly sorry for my words and my actions. Good, that is a solid starting point. Is there anything else you would like to convey to me? Yes, I wish to express my gratitude for teaching us this lesson. I know it was not your obligation to educate us regarding respect, but you executed it in a manner that we will never be able to forget. Tiffany, I never set out to teach any lesson. I simply desired to be treated with dignity, and I possessed every right to demand that. Miss Charlotte, do you believe that one day we might cultivate a typical mother-in-law and daughter-in-law bond? That outcome is entirely contingent upon you, Tiffany. I am prepared to attempt it if you genuinely commit to change. I will change, I promise you. Do not offer me a promise. Simply demonstrate it through your deeds. Tiffany rose to depart, but before she reached the entryway, she turned back towards me. Miss Charlotte, may I ask you something personal? Please do. How do I become a good daughter-in-law? I honestly have no idea how to accomplish that. Her query momentarily surprised me with its inherent simplicity and honesty. Tiffany, being a good daughter-in-law is synonymous with being a good individual. Treat others precisely as you would wish to be treated yourself. Ask before you make any assumptions. Respect established boundaries, and always remember that behind every favor someone performs for you is a person who consciously elected to assist you. May I consult with you when specific questions arise about something? If they are authentic inquiries and not disguised manipulation tactics, then yes. Thank you, Miss Charlotte. Thank you for everything. When Tiffany left, I remained seated in my living room, experiencing a combination of cautious optimism and emotional fatigue. The dialogue had seemed profoundly sincere, but I knew that the true measure of their repentance would be evaluated over time. I did not anticipate anything immediate. My only requirement was authentic respect. Months later, Marcus telephoned me, and I could tell he was nervous. Mother, I need to request a favor from you. My heart sank slightly. They were reverting to their former habits. Tell me, Marcus. Tiffany's birthday is scheduled for Saturday, and I wanted to organize a surprise celebration for her. Could you lend your assistance in organizing it? Marcus, are you asking me to coordinate the entire event for you? No, Mother, not at all. I have already secured the caterer, reserved the venue, and dispatched the invitations. I simply require your help with the decorative elements because you possess an exceptional talent for such things. But naturally, I will pay you for your time and your creative input. I was genuinely taken aback. Marcus had managed the majority of the complex work himself. He was merely requesting my specialized assistance for something he knew I excelled at, and was offering fair compensation. I would be happy to assist you, son. Really? You will do it? Yes, Marcus, I will gladly assist you. I will come to your house tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning to review the color palette. And that is precisely what transpired. I helped them adorn the venue, and Marcus transferred $100 to my bank account for my time. That transfer was more valuable to me than the entire $3,000 I had originally intended to spend on the wedding buffet, because it symbolized respect. Today, Marcus and Tiffany treat me with appropriate reverence. She now calls me Mom Charlotte. I still provide assistance, but I always do so on my own terms. My garden, which had been neglected, is once more flourishing, and 1 year after the disastrous wedding, I published my literary work of family recipes. It was titled Cooking with Love, Serving with Dignity, Recipes and Reflections of a Modern Grandma. Tiffany actively helped me promote it on various social media platforms, and Marcus hosted a book launch gathering at his house. During the book signing event, I reflected on the entire sequence of events that had occurred since that fateful afternoon when I had overheard that private conversation on my patio. This literary piece, I informed the assembled guests, is not exclusively about culinary instructions. It is about the fundamental significance of preserving our self-respect while simultaneously serving the individuals we cherish. It is about the clear distinction between offering assistance out of deep affection and being exploited for someone else's convenience. After the formal presentation, Tiffany approached me. Miss Charlotte, I have a confession I must make. What is it? The person who most profoundly inspired the central theme of this book was actually you. Your boldness in advocating for yourself taught me that it is entirely possible to love profoundly and concurrently maintain self-esteem. Tiffany, that sentiment means a great deal to me. Miss Charlotte, may I address you as Mum Charlotte from this day forward? I would be utterly delighted by that, darling. That night, as I signed numerous copies of my book, I recognized that the choice not to attend that wedding had been the single most sagacious decision I had enacted in years. Not only had I successfully reclaimed my inherent dignity, but I had also successfully imparted the genuine significance of mutual respect to my own family. Now I am 73 years old, expecting a grandchild, a published author, and possess a family that regards me as the honoured matriarch I should have been all along. Sometimes uttering the word no is the most powerful method of affirming yes to yourself.